Hello, hello. My name is Jaime Munoz, and I am the founder of Council AM. I am a student in the field of consciousness, and to really bring about the balance between consciousness and what is consciousness. Why is this a very deep desiring to know? And for anyone who is in this field, or let's say in this journey, to understand itself, not just in a form of spirituality, but to understand the essence of where you're going. And once you embark in this journey, understand you must take the consequences. Um, that's why we will speak on the fact of why religion is important, why is governing yourself so important, and why the meaning of understanding of finding a partner in your life. And what I mean by that is understanding the essence between man and a lady. So for each person that wants to embark in this spiritual journey, to be spiritual it just means that you're ready to educate your soul once again. Um, if you look at it complete humility, you begin to see everything that you have lived right now is only in accordance to your relation. Now, the perfect example I can say is when we were first children, let's say when you were first were born in this random time, you begin to see that those persons at the time you were born, you were in a deep relation, meaning that you didn't have to know anything about life, and you were in a constant relation with what is going on outside. And as you get older, you begin to see you become alienated from the world. And so the term comes where do aliens exist? And as you get older, you become alienated to the old patterns of your own belief. And this is where I put a bridge between understanding what humanity is in a form of humility, and spiritual in a form of just simply understanding common sense. As you embark this journey, realize the importance of who you are, and understanding that there is a certain role where you begin to see everything outside is in a reflection of what is within you. Now, not the totality. It means the non-acceptance of what you are is being presented, or let's say what you've consented to, but you don't put the authority of what you agree and disagree, rather than when you understand spirituality, spirituality is very ruthless. You begin to see spirituality. The more you enter spirituality, the more you can understand individuality, and the more you come into humility, you come into a form of collective. What are you in relation to? What do you want to commute? And the more you embark in spirituality, the more you disconnect yourself, or let's say you're cutting the cords of what you used to believe. Now, this is very hard for individuals, especially if I talk to my family, or let's say anyone that's in this journey, to understand that there's certain aspects of you that will disappear, meaning that every person that you've come into relation with is only something that you know about yourself. And I will build more into it so you can understand the importance between individuality and collectively. Um, they are one of the same thing. It really is. So hopefully you can understand it in a more deeper sense. And I'm going to bring out this chart that I had it ready um, to understand the importance of spiritual world, not in the form of how most people are coming into it. Spiritual work is supposed to be very silent, and it's come into a point of business where it's really confusing. Let's suppose the younglings, right? And the perfect example is the ability to have things in secret and things are not to. The point of silence and the point of sound. And you understand if some things were meant to be in a silent point of view, and there's other things that are meant to be in a sound point of view. Meaning there's certain things that needs to be kept in an individual's point of view, and understand the collective point of view. And it's really to upgrade your conscious state. You're trying to use spirituality and integrate it with an old paradigm setup. And this is I believe what I'm designed to do is to build that awareness, um, to build that awareness to understand this. So, and the more I go into it, the more I start realizing that You need a upgraded system. And eventually I will find a way, let's say when I'm 50 years old or something, to really bring about this and to understand consciousness and subconsciousness. Now, this is the greatest thing. Are they the same thing? Is consciousness and subconsciousness the same thing? And I've already given it to you. Consciousness is the ability to understand your individual self. The subconsciousness, you can literally see it. The ocean. The ocean represents the priority. The let's say the women point of view comes from the form of collective. Now, this may be very hard, let's say, for feminism and masculine, but to understand it in a non-biased point of view. Now, this is something that can trigger a lot of people, especially those who are going into spirituality, um, into understanding the truth about masculinity and femininity. Now, femininity is very disgusting, and masculinity is very disgusting as well. But when you begin to understand them both in a relation, you begin to see the coherent pattern for all of them is beautiful. Um, and this is where it begins. This is where the journey really begins, whether or not you really want to take on this course. Sometimes going too far up the ladder could be very not sufficient for the one who doesn't want to get rid of old patterns, right? Um, and if you're not willing to get away from old patterns, then I would just say this courses that I'm about to teach are not really for you. Um, and I really want to keep this very light for people to understand this and to build upon it. Okay, so let's go with this. It's all a matter of perspective, by the way. It really is. If you can live by your perspective point of view, then you can easily let go of everything. Um, right. So boom, 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 boom. Let's go more darker. Okay, no, let's go more. Mhm, mhm. Okay, now here we go. Now, this is really what I want to teach people is the ability to understand consciousness, right? Now, this is a huge upgraded system because your mind works in a form of silence. When you can understand words have nothing to do with it. The words, if you follow a certain emotion, then it comes about the mind is able to see it. Now, the mind is completely blind, right? Think of the mind as the ears, right? And think of the heart as the eyes, right? As you're looking, let's suppose as your senses, and that's something I will teach in my next courses, is the ability to understand your inner senses, your inner and your outer senses. Now, this is very important to understand because when you go into such a common and most people are not going to like it elementary point of view, that's how you so-called spiritual people need to start understanding it in a form of spirituality. If you can teach it to a child, you have taught it to yourself. The most important thing, and something that every great scholar, every person can agree upon, is if you can teach it to a child, you are finally teaching it to yourself. And that's the most important thing. Can you teach this to yourself? The mind is not so smart as it thinks it is, right? And this is where you come to a turn. You end up making the mind, creating it. There's an ego, and there's the soul, and when you can understand that, well, if you love compassion, you like just a one-time partner. If you like children, all this comes from an ego point of view, right? And a spiritual point of view, does not care about this stuff. The more you dive into spirituality, the more you begin to see that spirituality doesn't really care about family. It doesn't care about traditions. That's something that ego has something to do. And again, if you do your meditation, you begin to see that what you've been teaching yourself, what you have been reading and teaching yourself, only comes about the same patterns of what's happened. Now, this is something that's very hard because this is what J.D. Mariti was trying to explain to each one of you. This is what Alan Watts tried to explain to you. He even said, even speaking like this is, he's only going to speak in this in a form of entertainment. Um, and this is where you begin to understand a lot of it, because the more you read old scriptures, or let's say you're falling into the Atlantean way, you're falling into the Egyptian way, what can you possibly learn from a civilization that doesn't exist anymore? You begin to see you fall into the same trap, rather than they left clues in which you can overcome them by no longer living through them. And this is really by the number core. This is what Hermes, um, Hermes, Saint Germain, Horus. When you're looking at these individuals, you begin to see this is the very embark of truth. The past is a great indication of how to see yourself and how to move forward. The future has nothing to do with it. The future is the uncanvassed, right? Meaning the unconscious. When you're looking at it, is that the unconscious is a form of memory. Now, whether you are programming yourself to see from old scriptures, then you're not able to leave the system. And the more you begin to see it, you begin to see that you are creating an illusion of yourself, again and again and again, because the whole purpose is to accept the wholeness of what you are, and to really to look at things in almost in an unconditional way. Now, this is something that's going to be hard for a lot of people, because they've released their ego, right? Or so-called they release the ego. um, Releasing an ego, which means that you've just lied to yourself, because if you still embark into this, you begin to see that spirituality has no desire to be anything, right? Emptiness and infinite come from a form of inner and outer. This is where you'll be able to see yourself. The importance to understand the man and women are designed for each other, and you are canvassing yourself. So, of course, this is from a higher point of view, where if you are in this field, then you'll be able to paint more gracefully. You'll be able to paint more, you'll be able to paint yourself, meaning that you'll be able to undress. If you're able to undress reality, it means you're ready to undress your wife. And what I mean by undress, the undressing part, the unveiling part, doesn't mean seeing a woman's private part. It means the totality of accepting everything, every inch of a woman. The same thing of a man. It reflects with one another. And now I can look at it from a point of view, the point of view of a masculine or a point of view of a feminine. Understand that you have both aspects in you. Um, and you begin to see that you are just finding something, you're just finding the the you inside of a woman, and a woman is finding the he inside of a man. um, so it's very beautiful when you can understand it. It comes from a deep relation of unconditional love. Now, to come back to it, consciousness is an example of man. If I could put this right here. Man. Mm, I need to have it in a different point of view. Here we go. Here we go. So I'm a little blind. Here we go. Man. Just do this. I don't know why it's not working. Individually, consciousness comes from a masculine. Remember, uh, it's just energy. So don't look at a masculine as anything to do with the man, right? The man is just the embodiment. Let's say if I was going to shape a masculine, it would be in the form of a man. And when you see feminine energy, you you begin to see the feminine energy innerly, right? So these are just innerly speaking, right? Feminine, right? And it's really cool because it comes from a form of a geometric shape. Eventually, I'll go into the geometric shape to understanding that you can literally see the essence of your own spirit, and the spirit comes from a form of geometric. The more you can identify yourself, the more it becomes very hard for, let's say, Maya, or let's say matrix, right? Maya comes from a form of feminine, the feminine matrix, right? nature has a matrix, just like individuality has a form of nature. Innerly and outerly coexist at the same time. This is where you begin to see man and woman to being a fact. There's only two things, man and woman. Um, and this is where I say man and woman. This is where it's really gonna hurt. So anyone who's really inspiring to have transgender, like understand that you have your own choice, right? But the actual truth comes to it is whether or not you agree to an illness. Now, let's suppose we put this into more of a food. Let's go more of a food. Do you think it's fair that we're eating fake bread and chemical water, right? Or should we come to the acceptance of it? Should we come to the acceptance of eating fake meat and thinking it's meat, right? Should we should we accept the idea of how meat is being processed and how we're treating animals? Should we accept that? Now, these are very deep things that you want to talk about. And if you're not willing to talk about this for yourself and have that line, this is where the importance of man, right? Man is an individual, right? The perfect way to say it, can a woman live by herself? Of course, the answer would be yes. But when you're looking at the majority point of view, women are designed to to be mothers, right? And fathers are born to simply give seed. Now, the importance of it, and I don't want to go too far in it, but you begin to see that mother and a father are a sacredness, right? And once you enter father, right? Father, mother. Now, whether you agree, again, I'm not here to disagree or agree. I'm giving you an opinion based upon the facts that what I'm seeing, what I'm observing, and what I'm teaching for myself, for others to teach. Now, again, life is infinite. Now, whether you want to agree with whatever you are agreeing to yourself, you have the freedom to do it. Now, that's the most important thing to understand. When you can understand our creator is not shorting you of anything. If you want to believe that, understand that before you come to that agreement, understand that you will lose your memory and live to see whether that is proven. Like life is based upon the proving evidence. Now, whether it causes disorder, can you live with it? It's all according to you. And this is important. This is why religion, government, and let's suppose individuality exists to give you that fair line, to give you the example whether or not you agree to it. So again, my teachings are not for everybody. But if you're willing to educate yourself and to understand it, then allow yourself to hear from a different point of conscience. I there is nothing but a fact to understand that whether you want to agree with yours and deny man, you did to deny mine. Uh, it's perfectly fine because I'm already my idea. I'm not living based upon approving or agreeing whether or not yours can agree or not. I'm giving individuals a chance at this moment for them to educate themselves. Like, hey, I'm trying to show you evidence of your life, whether because you have agreed according to it to follow a certain way. Life is infinite. So whether you want to live according to your plan, understand there is a reality in which you want to live in. And the perfect thing for every single being is to understand, allow them to be what they want to be. That's why it says love your neighbors. To love your neighbors is meaning like, hey, I could see that you want to agree upon this. I'm just going to be an example of God and see whether or not which one is bringing me harmony and which one is causing disorder. Uh, Eventually we will go into chaos and order, and to understand that sometimes order can be chaos, and chaos can dress as order. Like right now, chaos is an or is the actual order of itself. The causing disorder is what is needed right now because order has been sickened. It has been consumed and poisoned to the very fact where people don't think that what we're living is in order when it's not. So again, the field of consciousness is understanding individuality and the collective. So when you can understand consciousness and subconsciousness, what I'm saying is, how much are you willing to understand femininity, and how much are you understanding masculinity? Right? Masculinity comes from a form of individuality, and feminism comes from a form of collective. Now, whether people don't agree upon this, again, I'm just trying to show you something that can trigger a lot of people. Women are designed to be in groups, to be in pairs. Men are designed to be alone, right? Now, the perfect example right now, and I could tell this for anyone, is when a woman is saying, I want to find a real man." I promise you, a man is your worst enemy. What most women need to start saying is, "I want a husband," right? And now a husband, right? The actual term, when you look at un esposo, right? Uh, um, or a husband, you begin to see the husband is there's a band around him, right? Or the collar. It's so cool when you see it this way without the judgmental though. But right, what a woman is stating is that I don't want a man, I want a husband. Right? To have a man means, and I promise you, to have a man is to say that and most people, this is what happens when you don't understand wording, right? Words are just symbols, they're energy, and when you're calling upon it, it's like me when let's say I want a real woman. When I'm looking at the wholeness of a woman, it is disgusting. Understand that women are manipulating, they are seducing. This is their nature, by the way, right? The women are very manipulative, very seducing, very controlling. Um, a man that's very controlling is just so into femininity rather than masculinity. Masculinity, right? That when you're looking at masculine, it's very introverted. It really is. It is very introverted. Women are designed to be seen. Men are designed to disappear. Right. And this is just the same. When you understand duality, you understand there has to be one or the other. Right. At times, a man needs to be seen so the femininity will take, and uh, the importance of husband and wife is to see the balance of trading and exchanging energy, the continuously trusting of energy, of giving the energy to each other. Um, it is something beyond the complexity of your sight, of course. But when you can understand this, then we can go more deeper into the conscious, unconscious, and the subconsciousness. Now, this is very important to understand for anyone who really wants to get into a higher dimension. A higher dimension just means a higher look of understanding who you are, to understand the most ugliness of you and a woman, and to seeing the beauty of transcending it, right? Rather than uh, transcending it, right? There's a difference, right? The idea of transcending and the idea of actually, um, let's say, not living in a womb, on a wound, right? Or a wounded self, a wounded soul. You've uh, living in a on your old layers, right? Of your, let's say if you're looking at through a skin, let's say if you're living through a cocoon, you begin to see not living in the idea, but actually completely transcending it, where you become something completely different than other what you think of yourself. Now, this takes really great embodiment. Now, whether you are willing to do it or not, um, it is to ascend comes. There is no great. Carl Jung said it perfectly. There is no other way than ascending than actually suffering. Suffering is the key. Now, whether one is not willing to suffer and go upon the trials, understand that there's no way about it. You could talk about it. You could live. You could say you're living it, but ultimately, are you willing? That you could let it go. It's something beyond the idea of what you can possibly know. Um, or you've lived that and you completely have now seen yourself where you don't know who you are anymore. It comes about it. So Carl Jung and J.D. Krishnamurti are two strong spiritual beings who are able to express their individuality again. So I'll stop right here so people can understand the importance of man, masculine, and father, right? Woman, feminine, and mother. And ultimately, there's a fourth one, right? And the most important one, it is the child, right? The child is the one that reverts back. So we think physically we come from a child, then to a man, then to a husband, or let's say um, a boy or a daughter, then it'd be a boy or girl, right? And the innocence, right? Words have a thing of innocence. So physical, it looks like we're going up, but in reality, spiritually, we're going down, so we can come back up. And eventually, I'll show you the symbolic teachings of it, where alchemy and metaphysics part are a key role in understanding this. um, Eventually the ultimate goal is to have the innocence of a child again, right? Now, whether again, and I'll say it again, whether you want to live in fulfillment with a husband and wife, understand that is an ego state. If you want to live in a spirituality, is to see everyone as a brother and a sister, right? Meaning to have a complete innocence where, if whether or not you can see that sexuality has overthrown you, right? And this is the importance where you think to say it's nature. Um, when you can understand the goal is to come back to understanding to living through an innocent mind, but you begin to see that physically that's a huge distortion. Spiritually, that's where you ultimately want to be in. Um, and eventually we'll go into the seven senses, to understanding your seven senses, understanding awareness and observation, and what is it that you're absorbing. um, and eventually you begin to see yourself in reality, everything what you believe yourself to be. So hopefully, again, I didn't really speak much more into context, but hopefully this will give you some type of indication, and the importance to understand that there are simply two genders. Really, and whether you want to agree upon it, of course. Now, you can have more than that, but I promise you, it becomes more, you begin to see, look outside, look through your window, come to that agreement and come to the window. Now, look at from this other window, then you begin to see which one is causing harm and which one is causing harmony, right? And harmony meaning there is harm in this peaceful outcome. Let's say between man and woman, there is no peace between each other, right? Let's say there's always a conflict of stress. There is always a conflict, let's say, for women to give birth and to then dealing with children. Harmony is the ability to enjoy the stressness and still being okay with it, right? Everyone's trying to remove negativity when that's not actual truth. You want a husband to, you want, let's say, a man and woman to fight with one themselves, but something that you're able to live with yourself. Now, another example is you're always going to have problems, right? Now, the problem is whether you don't find that center of it. Let's put it through a business point of view. The problem is I have too much clients, not enough time. That's a good problem. That's a problem, right? Now, another problem could be is I don't have any clients, I have a problem. Now, that's a bad problem. You still have problems. So now the difference is whether you are able to live within it and continue this process of understanding negativity is not really negative. It is just the sight and how you're seeing it. The next video I will speak on senses. So for you so you can upgrade it and see your conscious in a more greater plane. Down to seeing it from your seven fields, right? Your seven fields come from your seven waves. Let's say there's seven hermetic principles that involve your seven hermetic senses, which is a form of sound. You're able to see it through seven forms of layers. Understand the seven layers create a perfect field in what we're seeing. So, and you just want to constantly remind yourself to just move your hands and to understand that you exist. You get to exist, you get to express, and you get to and you get to create. Most importantly, co-create your own field. And this is where I'm really want to build your energy field, right? So I call it, you call it the triple E's. right? You're to exist, express, and let's say explore your existence, your energy field. So hopefully this gives you some type of more information. Um, Eventually, I will have to build courses in how to put this on my daily life, or because what's happening now is by me speaking about this, I end up living in my own field and removing the old field away from me. The more I'm able to express who I am, the more whatever I think the field is outside no longer exists, because again, I really want to show everyone that you have the infinite potential. You can choose your existence. You don't have to just choose your income. You don't have to choose anything. You could literally choose your own existence. You're able to create your own space and time. Now, whether you are and not in that field yet, you will know. So there will be a time where you have to convert yourself, and this is where religion comes along. Not everyone can go into a certain gap. Understand that in the spiritual realm as well as in the human form, there is a hierarchy. Now, whether you can come to that understanding or not, you will find out. To fully express yourself, and I mean, um, that doesn't come from a form of building a business. This comes from a form of understanding quantum mechanics and understanding the energy field. You are creating a space, right? And so as you continue to eliminate, you begin to see what you're doing is you're pushing and the negative energy as your walls, right? Now, whether you can't break it, like you you can push it to build that space around you, right? And so this is where I really want to teach people to understand that innerly is the same as externally, as much as innerly is the same as externally, in and out and in, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is what's been being passed down, and this is where you. It's not a matter that we have forgotten what's happening. It's a matter of just. I don't know if I got cut out, but it's a matter of simply understanding there is a time in cycles when we're able to speak this and when we're not able to speak that. Because sometimes some things are not meant to be spoken. And right now, this is a great time to be spoken. It's like knowing when the stock market's going to go down, you got to take it. When you know the stock market's going to go up, you got to learn how to take it. So, in the same way, you'll understand when silence is needed and then when sound is needed, when you need to rebel and when you need to unite. Um, when you understand nature and matrix are God the Father and God the Mother, um, they both need each other. Humans are needed here in this world. Now, whether you don't agree upon it or not, then you'll simply live within a nature point of view. Now, if you can't handle the matrix point of view, you understand that there's no need to escape the matrix. There's need to just educate yourself with the matrix. Um, because the matrix is designed for you. It's not against you, right? And the only thing is, the only reason why you feeling that it's against you is because you're not understanding its language. Meaning you're not understanding who you are. So hopefully this will bring you some clarity. I wish and no everyone nothing but the best. To find love, to find peace, and to be students of this great cosmos and understand that you are a child of our creators. God the Father and God the Mother exists. It's just when you understand it from a form of innerly and externally, you become that expression of our Creator, and you begin to have that holy marriage that's designed in order to keep balance within yourself. Um, Life is just beyond what one can possibly understand. So hopefully this will give you some more information. I really want to keep it common, very, very, very common sense for people to understand this. And if we have to speak it from this point of language, I'd rather just keep it here. I'd rather not go too far within this. So I wish everyone nothing but love, truth, and liberty. And hopefully you guys will have an amazing week. And if you have any information, please send me a message, send me an email. If you want to follow me through Instagram, it's where I don't, I used to do a lot of videos, but I realized that um, I just need to be careful in how I'm saying things because again, I don't care about anything other than giving you guys a way of teaching. Just think of it as spiritual. You're seeing a bunch of signposts. Just read it. Whatever works for you works for you. Simple medicine, right? It's just like when you have herbs. If you understand herbs, you understand which herbs can heal your body. Same thing in the spiritual world. These words could be at a great advantage for you, and you're just picking them up and remind yourself, certain things happen. You have an inner and outer self and soul that are combining with one another. So thank you for your time, and hopefully you have some more questions, right? Not a aha, but more questions. Eventually, those questions will be lowered until the point where you no longer need to ask questions.